Hey, Ranger fans, I hope you're over Tuesday night's loss because we got another game tonight in Buffalo. Should be a good one. Hopefully, we'll erase any memory of Tuesday night's, let's call it, stunning defeat. Hey, everybody, this is Rangers Daily. I'm your host, Todd Werwa. Let's start by talking about JT Miller. Should he play right now if he's not 100% healthy? It's a great question. No one's really sure what's going on. He obviously missed a bunch of camp after he hurt himself. He didn't really look like himself on Tuesday night. Let me give you a quote from Mike Sullivan. This is courtesy of Vince Mercogliano on managing what JT Miller has to do. He said, "We're going to have to take it day by day. Obviously, JT missed a fair amount of training camp, as did Bread, Artemi Panarin. So those two guys are jumping on a moving train. And when you miss that much time, it's not easy to jump back into an NHL game at NHL pace, even from a conditioning standpoint. I think those guys will get better with every game they play. I think they'll get better with timing and reads and all of those things. We'll take each day as it comes, and we'll try to manage it accordingly." Now, I'm not going to go so far as Steve Valiquette, who on the postgame show said it looked like Miller was playing with a piano on his back, but he didn't look like himself. He wasn't his feisty, usual aggressive self. And the question is, well, it's great to have your new captain on the ice to start the season, to set the tone. If he can't set the tone properly, should they just give him time to heal and bring him back when he's ready? Not sure really what the right answer is. Obviously, Mike Sullivan wants him in the lineup. Obviously, we know the lack of depth on this lineup of the third and fourth line to try and then take someone out of the top line. That means Mika goes back to center. You certainly don't want Parsonen and Laba and Carrick as three of your centers. There's a whole lot that could be done with the lineup, but none of them are as good as obviously having JT Miller in the lineup. So it's a great question. It's a tough decision. Only Mike Sullivan, Chris Drury, and JT Miller himself really know the answer as to how injured, say obviously a difference between being hurt and being injured, how injured JT Miller is versus how capable he is of playing at close to 100%. Is he 90? Is he jumping on this moving train at 75? It's tough to get a gauge, but it didn't look good in the first game of the season. So what they do with him, and we'll get to why it's important coming up when we look at the Rangers' schedule, but what they do with him really could portend how their season really starts off. So I think if you're 80% or more, you play. I think the Rangers probably think that too. And that's why we saw him in game one. And obviously, it really wouldn't have been great to have your captain on the 100th anniversary walking out in street clothes after everybody skates out. But you have to do what you have to do in order to make sure the player's healthy and at peak performance. So it looks like he'll be back in the lineup again on Thursday. It looks like the lines will be the same. So we'll see. It certainly looks like the forward lines are going to be the same. Now, secondly, let's talk some numbers. And they don't look good. I can't say they look good. But again, Thursday night is a whole different game. But let's just take a look back at some of the numbers. Steve Valiquette said they had one high percentage scoring chance. Pittsburgh, I think, only had 4. Sportlogic said the Rangers had 2 grade A chances. None of it good. We talked about their lack of physical presence in front. We talked about a lot of shots without any sense for anybody in position for a rebound. Not a lot of rebounds given up. Not a lot of screens in front. It didn't look all that good. It didn't look promising, but it's just one game. Even strength, offensive possession. Pittsburgh had 6 minutes and 15 seconds. The Rangers had 5 minutes and 28 seconds. Not as crazy a disparity as I anticipated, but some of that may have been the sheer dominance the Rangers had in the second period. They really turned it around. I think it was 13-7 shot-wise. But the first period, those numbers were bleak. Sportlogic also has even strength attempts from the slot. This one's interesting. Pittsburgh had 32 and the Rangers had 20. Again, that shot attempts from the slot, that home plate area coming out from the goal to the dots. And that's at even strength. So out attempted from the slot 32-20. That's where most of the goals are scored. And then the even strength breakout success percentage. That's when your breakout reaches the neutral zone. How's about this for numbers? Pittsburgh, 67.6% completion rate, success rate. The Rangers, only 52.9%. So that's pretty much half the time they were able to get out of their zone and half the time they failed. That's not good enough. That's really not good enough. And really, outside of Adam Fox, they don't have real puck-carrying defensemen. And Fox and Gavrikov did not exactly have the greatest game either. But pair number 2 with Susi and Borgen, and pair number 3 with Urho and Schneider. I call him Urho. I know it's Vakanainen. None of those guys are real, true puck-carrying guys. Maybe Schneider can be, but it's tough in that he's got to be the more of the puck carrier than Vakanainen. But I wouldn't say it's their forte. So didn't like what the numbers said. We'll look for some improvement on Thursday night against Buffalo. Which leads to the bigger question. Is this only one loss, or is this a carryover from the bad times of the 24-25 season? And it's tough to answer. It's impossible to answer until we see how the season goes along. It does look like the lineup will be the same for the forward group: Cooley, JT, and Mika, Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere, Sheary, Laba, and Radish, Edstrom, Carrick, and Rempe as your 4 forward lines. And I actually think, and before I get to that, looks like because of Matthew Robertson being the second pair defenseman, they mixed up and rotated a little bit. The D-men actually stayed on with David Quinn for like 10 minutes after practice, doing some wall battles and doing some other drills. I actually think after what we saw on Tuesday night, it's actually a good thing to go right back to the same lineup. It's show me time, and a little too early to make changes, but this group of 12 knows full well they have to be better. And, you heard Mike Sullivan say we're a long way from becoming the team we want to become. Well, bouncing back is really how you do it. I'm a huge golf fan. Have been for my entire life. And one of the most important stats is bounce back. After you make worse than par, how do you bounce back that next hole? And it's the same way after these guys were embarrassed, we'll call it, on Tuesday night, and people questioning their effort and saying whether this is still a carryover. Okay, bounce back. Show me something better. Show me a better effort. Show me you're buying into the Sullivan system. You're buying into the identity he wants to create. You're buying into the responsibility and accountability he preaches. Let's see it. So I think it's a good thing that it'll be the same forward group. Let's talk D-men and Gavrikov Fox. Looking at the Hockey Stat Cards game score, Fox was minus 1.44 and Gavrikov was minus 1.84. Gavrikov had several giveaways. Fox had giveaways, but he had several takeaways also. But they really didn't drive play. Play got driven on them quite a bit. Fox quarterbacked, power play won, and they took an offer. So this, as we've spoken before, this pair has to keep developing. They need to figure out chemistry. They need to play better. They know it, and that'll take some time. But the question is, how long can you let it go? Which brings me to my fourth and final point. This thing could turn out great really quickly, and Tuesday's loss will be forgotten, amongst a handful of others throughout the season, and it'll just be, hey, these guys are off to a great start. Or it could snowball, and it could snowball really quickly. Let me run down. So Thursday night, tonight, in Buffalo. Saturday, in Pittsburgh, so they play the Penguins again. Be interested to see if they play Tristan Jarry in goal or if we get Artur Shilovs again. Then Sunday, second of a back-to-back against Washington, who I believe lost to the Bruins tonight, or lost on Wednesday night, lost their first game. But you play against Alex Ovechkin, it's never easy, and they were the division champs last year. So 3 games in 4 days, at Buffalo, at Pitt, and then Washington on Sunday. And then it doesn't really get any easier because 2 days later on Tuesday, Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers come to town. And then I think is Toronto and then Montreal, games, different locations. But the games, because of the condensed schedule, because this is an Olympic year, the games come fast and they come furious. And you can blink, and in this span of a week, you can be 3-1, you can be 0-4. They played their first game on Tuesday. By the time Sunday night rolls around, they could be 3-1, they could be 2-2, or they could go the other way. And if it starts going the other way, and you look at then McDavid and then Austin Matthews, and then you go on a Western Canadian road trip where you've got to face the Oilers again, this thing can snowball quickly in a good way or a bad way. And so it's something that everybody, because of this much condensed schedule, you're not going to have much practice time. You're not going to have a whole lot of recovery time. It's going to be tough. And if you're not careful and you're, like Sullivan said, trying to jump onto a moving train and you're not ready for it, you can get steamrolled quickly. They're not the only team that's in this predicament, but we could blink and things could be bleak by the end of next week. Things could be fantastic by next week, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen with a lot of games in a short amount of time. So let's hope for better tonight against Buffalo. Should be a great effort. I'm looking forward to these guys bouncing back and seeing this test of their mettle, seeing what they've got. Should be a fun one. So anyway, this is Rangers Daily. I'm your host, Todd Werwa. Please subscribe. Please comment. Please ring that bell for updates. And we'll see you when we wrap up the game against Buffalo. Take care.